Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Red Alert Lab. This is the video number 77. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have closed the topic of creating Windows 11 master image with different open source programs and some tips and tricks and tweaks to enhance the performance of the operating system and to customize the appearance of this system to be more user-friendly to the user. Okay, so we have closed this topic. Now we will continue working with our Red Alert lab scenario. So we need to summarize what we have reached so far, or what we have discussed so far, and what are the upcoming or the future topics. So let's have a little bit of a graph to just remind you all what we have reached so far. So if we have this presentation, so here is the laptop, my laptop, and this is the name of the laptop and the IP of the laptop, and inside this laptop we have our hypervisor or our program that will create our virtual machines, which is a program VMware Pro 16 hypervisor program. This is the program, and inside this program we have our virtual environment. Just a moment guys. So let's continue guys. Here is the program of the VM Pro 16 hypervisor program, and inside this program there is our virtual environment, which inside this virtual environment we will create virtual machines. Okay, especially we will create two domain controllers, primary domain controller and secondary domain controller, and we will name the domain redalert.internal. Okay, this is the first, or this is the primary domain controller, and this is the secondary domain controller, and we will have different kind of workstations to work with or to join this domain. Some of them will have Windows 10 system on it, and some will have Windows 11 as a test system. We will test the Windows 11 on one of these machines. We have discussed this before in the previous videos. Now these two primary domain controller, or the primary domain controller and second domain controller, will have Windows Server Core installed on it, and this Windows Server Core doesn't have any graphical interface. So this is one, and we'll have one of these machines or workstations have Windows 11 on it. We have discussed this before, and we have discussed how we can create Windows 11 master image. So we will need to join this Windows 11, that machine that we have done before in previous videos. We need to join this Windows 11 machine to the domain redalert.internal, and we will also make another workstation. We will install Windows 10 on it, and we will join the domain redalert.internal. So this is a little bit of a brief. What is the structure of the network? First of all, this network has range IP addresses of 192.168.1.0. so the two servers will have from this virtual network range, and these workstations will also have their IP addresses from this network range, and my laptop also will have from this network range. Okay, so my laptop will be virtually on this network, or it will be connected. My laptop will be connected to this network, so I can communicate with the virtual machines and the virtual servers. So this is one, and this is the primary domain controller, RACC01. It contains Active Directory, DNS, Group Policy Management Console, and the IP address will be 192.168.1.8. This is the first server, and the additional server, or the additional domain controller, will have DNS, Active Directory. It will be a file server and the WSOS, and its IP address will be 192.168.1.9. So this is the structure, or the structure of the network, and we have created these two servers. We have created most of these workstations. We have created a virtual machine or a workstation with Windows 11. We need to join it to the domain, and we will later make a workstation that has Windows 10 installed on it and join it to the domain. So this is the structure of the network. We need to have a little bit of a look on the structure of the Active Directory. So let's have a little bit of a look on the structure of the Active Directory. So this is the domain read_alert.internal, and this is the first, or this will be the first or the top level Active Directory. We name it tier 0. So this is some OUs in the Active Directory. These are, let's consider it to be the main branch. Okay, so we have divided our Active Directory to some parts. The first part, this will be the main branch, and then we have branches. So this is the main branch, and then let's have a little bit of a look. Here we have 3 branches or 3 armies: the Russian army, the American army, and the Japanese army. We have discussed this before in the beginning of the lab, and we will have each one of them to have its OU structure. So here we can see that the Russian OU have different sub OUs under it, and the same for the American army. So we have this also for the American army, and we have also this for the Japanese army. Okay, so this will be sub OUs, and every IT will be responsible for his OU. So the Russian IT will be responsible to handle his OU and the sub OUs under it. Okay, he can create users in this OU, he can create workstations in this OU, he can join workstations in this OU to the domain, and he can join servers in this OU to the domain. The same applies for the American army and the Japanese army. Okay, so this will be done, or the IT will use the PAW or the privileged access workstations to connect to the Active Directory and manage their users and groups and workstations. This will be done also for the American army, and this also will be done for the Japanese army. Okay, here we can see that we have global IT group. This is the main branch, or this is the global IT OU. So we have different IT in different OUs, and we have the domain IT or the global IT group. This will handle, or this will be supervising all of the IT in all branches. So the IT or the personnel in the global IT group will be the head, or will be the chief of all of the IT in the sub OUs. So this global IT can control the IT in the Russian army, and can control the IT in the American army, and can control the IT in the Japanese army. So he is the domain admin. Okay, this is the tier 0. Okay, we can name it as the highest level in the Active Directory. Here we can see that there is different groups. So here we can see in this OU we have an IT Russian group, Active Directory group. We have a group also for the Russian IT concerning accessing the PAW workstations, and different groups, okay, within this OU. Okay, so every OU will have its own groups, okay, to manage and to list the users. Okay, so here we can see different Active Directory groups within different OUs. The Russian army will have 1, 2, 3, 4 different groups, and also the American army will have also different groups, and the Japanese army will have also different Active Directory groups. This will be named tier 0. Here we can see this is the domain admin. It will be in this OU. They will have the global IT group. We will have different groups. I have discussed before each one of these groups, what it does, and who are the members will be in this group. So here this is tier 0. This is the highest level or the top level OUs in the Active Directory, and this will be tier 1, okay, or tier 3, and tier 2, or tier 1 and tier 2. So here we have divided the Active Directory to tiers, so we can control who can access each tier, and to prevent every IT in each tier to access the workstations or servers in the other tier. Especially also the domain admin will not be authorized to access or it will not be able to access remotely servers and workstations in each tier, even though he have the authority to do this, but he cannot do this in a direct way. If he need to access servers or workstations in each tier, he need to go to this OU and create a user and put it in the IT group of the OU. So if I need to access the Russian Army workstation, I need to go to the group called IT USSR and create a user in it and access the servers or workstations here. Just wait for a moment, guys. Please wait for a moment. Just a moment. So let's continue, guys. Here we have the Active Directory structure, and we know everything in this structure. What we will do in this video, I need here to go to the Japanese OU, and in the workstations OU I need to create a machine and join it to the domain, and it will be in the Japanese OU. So here what we will do, let me show you here. Here we will go and put our workstation in the Japanese OU under the airbase OU. This is a workstation OU, so we will put it there and join it to the domain. The Japanese workstation will have Windows 11 installed on it, and we need this Windows 11 system to be in the Japanese language. All of the displayed language should be in Japanese. The welcome messages would be in Japanese. The background should be for the Japanese army, and a lot of things actually. So we need to test, because every one of these OUs will have workstations in it, and every workstation in each OU will have different setting, will have different background, will have different display language, will have different screensaver. So we need to test this setting. So what we will do in this video, will create, or I have already created, a workstation and install Windows 11 on it with the Japanese language, and we need to join it to the domain and see the different setting. And we will do this also in the Russian army. We'll create a workstation and install Windows 10 on it, and we need to make sure that it is displayed in Russian language, and we will see the different setting, the background for the Russian army, and a lot of things we have done previously in the previous videos. But we need to have something. If you need to install Windows 11 with the Japanese language, we have two ways to do this. First of all, we get a Windows 11 DVD or ISO in Japanese and install it on a machine. This is number one. Or we can get a normal Windows 11 DVD or ISO image in English, and then install it on the machine, and then download language pack for the Japanese language pack and push it through the WSOS server to this machine, okay, and then configure a group policy to use this language pack, okay, or to force this language pack to be applied to every user. So when we force this language pack to be applied to every user will see his Windows display language in Japanese. We will do this for the Japanese army and the Russian army. We'll see the two different ways for displaying a certain language in Windows 10. You can display Japanese language by installing Windows 11 ISO image in Japanese, or you can install Windows 11 in English and use language pack to change the language, and use the GPO or a certain GPO to force a certain language pack to be the default language pack for the user. We will see both ways. We'll do this once in the Japanese army and once in the Russian army. So let's see how we can do this. First of all, we need to close this one and then go to our video. So now we will open our VM Workstation Pro, and then we need to open our primary domain controller and the additional domain controller, which is file server, and we need to join this workstation that contains Windows 11 and it belongs to the Japanese OU. We need to join it to the domain and then use a user in the Japanese army and log in on this machine and see what this user will see. He should see his background, the Japanese background, the Japanese files shares, the Japanese shares and everything. So here this is the primary domain controller and this is the power workstation. We need to go and do something. We need here to go and to pass. So we have this machine, this is the Japanese machine, we need to join it to the domain. So we need to open the DHCP MAC filtering and need to add the MAC address of this machine to the DHCP, so it will be allowed to take IP address from the DHCP, and then after taking IP address we will join it to the domain. So here this is our power or privileged access workstation, the workstation that we will use to access the servers, okay, or the Active Directory servers or the domain controllers in specific. Okay, so here this is my domain admin account. So I am logging into the privileged access workstation. This is a special workstation that has certain setting applied to it, so it doesn't connect to the internet and it has a lot of security setting. Now we will open the console or our console, Active Directory console, and then we need to make sure that the Japanese workstation, it is in the correct OU. So when we join it, it will be residing in the correct OU. Okay, so here we can see that this is the members of the global IT group. This is the domain admins, okay, or the top level IT. So I use one of these accounts to join the Japanese workstation to the domain. So I can use it to join it to the domain, or as a security standard, I should not use my domain admin account on the Japanese workstation, but I should use an IT Japanese account or Active Directory account. This is the one that we need to take care of. We need to join workstations in the OU, in Japanese OU. We need to join them to the red alert domain using Japanese IT accounts, not the domain admin accounts. Every IT should be responsible for joining his workstations to the domain. So it is not a best practice to use my domain admin account to join a Japanese workstation to the domain. This should be done by the IT or the Japanese IT in his OU. Okay, so this is one thing, because if my password was hacked, the hacker can hack all of the accounts. But if the Japanese IT account was hacked, he will be only able to hack the workstations and servers in the Japanese OU, not all of the OUs in the domain. Okay, so this is one thing. So here this is not a correct thing to do or a correct step. So here I am taking an account which is Tony Stark. He is a domain admin. I should use it to join the workstation or the Japanese workstation to the domain. So this is not a best practice. Okay, this is not good. We need to have an IT or Japanese IT account to join the workstation to the domain. Anyway, so I'm just preparing the Active Directory users that I will use on the Japanese workstation that will be joining the domain. Here is the Empire of the Sun, or this is the OU of the Japanese army, and then in the IT group I should use some users in the Japanese army to access with these users the workstation that I will join the domain to. Okay, so this is a Japanese user. He will access a Japanese workstation. So this is one of the things. This is the IT, or this is the workstation IT, or the local admin IT on the Japanese workstation. So this is, we can use it to have full access to the machine, and we will use a normal user or a standard user, not a local admin. So this is user, a normal Japanese user. We will see when we log in with this user on the machine, we will see the background, we will see the different file shares appearing for this user. Anyway, I am preparing a text file to put the users in, so I do not forget the users. Okay, so here I need to have 3 users to access the workstation or the Japanese workstation that will join the domain right away. So just wait for a moment. This is a normal, or this is a standard Japanese user. We will log in with this user on the Japanese workstation after joining the domain, and this is a local admin account on this workstation, okay, local admin account on this workstation, okay. And then we will have another user. So I have another user which will be an Active Directory IT user, okay. So we have local IT user and Active Directory IT user and the standard user. So here I am trying different users, okay, on this workstation to test the different setting and different permissions and privileges on this workstation. So let's see when we put the password. So we have 3 users. We will see, or we will try them on this machine, and we will do the same on the Russian workstation, okay. So these are 3 different users. We will use them to log in on the Japanese workstation after joining it to the domain. Tony Stark will be the user responsible for joining the Japanese workstation to the domain. So let's have a look. This is Tony Stark, and we have said that this is a wrong step. We need to use a Japanese IT account to join the Japanese workstation to the domain. Anyway, so we have all of the users ready. We need now to go to the DHCP, okay, this is thing, to add the MAC address of this machine to the DHCP MAC filter list, allowed MAC filter list, so this machine can take IP address from the DHCP server, and then we after that can join this machine to the domain. So let's wait and see. So here we have closed the power workstation, or here I'm just decreasing the RAM because I don't have enough RAM to work with all of the workstations or with all of the virtual machines. So here we will open the file server, okay, this is the file server, and the DHCP also, and then we will join this workstation to the domain, and we will see the different shares, and we will see if this machine will take an IP address from the DHCP server. Anyway, I think I have added this machine to the DHCP allowed MAC filter. Anyway, so now we have opened the file server and the additional domain controller, and in the same time it is the DHCP. So now we have our Japanese workstation. It's in Japanese language. So here we give it some RAM, because as we have all know that the minimum RAM requirement for the Windows 11 operating system, it is 4 GB, okay. So now we need to open this virtual machine or the Japanese workstation and join it to the domain. So let's see the different things and the different notes we can or we can observe some things on the machine. So you can see that it is in Japanese language, but we need to take care of something. This is a local administrator account, so we need to join this Japanese workstation to the domain of redalert.internal and try Japanese users and see if the Japanese users will see their own army background. We will see that in a moment. We have done this in the scenario of the lab. Every army should see his own background, or his own background will be the flag of the army. Okay, so let's wait for a moment and see. Now this is a Windows 11 workstation, and we need to join this Windows 11 workstation to the domain. So here, because I am not familiar with the Japanese language, so I'm trying to discover a way to join this machine to the domain using the icons. So I don't know Japanese language, but I am trying to know how I can join the machine to the domain using the shape of the icons, or to see the shape of the icons. Anyway, so I'm telling him to have, or to give me the run command. So I'm typing the run command, and then through this run command I will type a certain command that will display a window. Through it I can join this machine to the domain. So let's wait and see what I will do. Here I have tell him the run, and then let's see, if you type system properties advanced, he will get you a window. From it you can join the machine to the domain. So this is a way to join a certain machine to the domain using the run command. So let's see how we can do this. Tell him system properties advanced, and then he will display a window through it we can join the machine to the domain. So here is the window. Through it, from the first tab and then the last one, so I know the shape of the icons. Here, this how we can join the machine to the domain, and this is the one. Here we will type red alert dot internal. Remember, this machine took an IP address from the DHCP after adding its MAC address to the DHCP MAC, or to DHCP allowed MAC filter. Anyway, so we tell him red alert, and then he should provide a user that is authorized to join machines to the domain. This user should not be the domain admin. It should be an Japanese IT user that is authorized to join machines to the Active Directory. We have done this in a previous video. Okay, so this is not a correct step. Anyway, so we will type the username and password, and then we will try different users on this machine and see what will be the result. We should see different backgrounds, different settings, different desktop, different icons. So we'll see a lot of changes after joining this machine to the domain. Okay, so now it will take a little bit of time. Okay, successful, and then we will restart the machine, or the machine should be restarted, and we will see what will be the first thing we observe in this machine. First of all, by the way guys, I only know the icons, so I do not know a Japanese language. Here we need to see something here. This is the first thing we need to notice. Here is the interactive or interactive welcome message. It is displayed in English language. We should display this information in Japanese. Okay, so we should create a GPO to display this interactive message in Japanese, and should be also displayed in Russian for the Russian Army workstations, and with English for the American workstations. So every army should see the interactive welcome message in his own language. We will see that in upcoming videos. Okay, so this is the first thing we need to note or to take into consideration. So now this is the welcome message, so that means that the machine has already joined the domain. And then we should try and see, or log in with different users on this machine and see if we will see different background, or we will see the background of the Japanese army on this machine. Okay, so we can see everything is displayed in Japanese language, because this Windows DVD, it is in Japanese. Okay, so its display language, it is in Japanese. This is not an English Windows DVD. Okay, so this is the first thing we need to notice. We need to log in with IT. This is a local admin account on this machine. Take a good notice that this local admin account will have a different background than the standard user account. Let's see now what I mean. Now I am logging in with a local administrator account, IT Workstation admin. This is a local account. Okay, it will take a little bit of time to prepare the desktop. Okay, and then we will see that this IT or local IT account will have a background, and the standard user will have another background. So that means that our group policies are working perfectly. Here we can see that this is not the background for the Japanese army. It is a little bit different, because this is not a standard user, this is a local IT user. So the local IT user will have different background than the standard user, especially the Japanese standard user. So the local IT or the local Japanese IT user will have a different background than the standard Japanese user. Here we can see that our login script is being implemented or applied. The login script will do a lot of things we have discussed before. It will hide the search icon or the search toolbar, and it will add the Japanese language in addition to the English language, and it will change the performance, Windows performance setting, and it will do a lot of things. Here we can see that the name of the machine is changed from this PC to reflect the computer name. This is done by the login script or the Active Directory login script, and the search toolbar will disappear in a moment, and the Japanese language should be added. If we go there and see, these are all registry keys. Here, if we see here, there will be English and Japanese. So this is the script, or this is the working of the script. This will be done in the Japanese workstation. As for the Russian workstation, English will be installed and Russian language will be installed. So wait for a moment. The time zone, it should reflect Egypt time zone. So all of these are registry keys applied by the Active Directory login script. And here we can see that the search toolbar is hidden. If we go there and see, we will see that here we will have the English language and we will have also the Japanese language. So this is all done by the login script. So if you open there, we will see that we will have two languages installed, and this should be done for the Japanese. And for the Russian, here we can see that we have two languages. We have the Japanese language and the English language. This should be done for the Japanese workstations. As for the Russian, a completely different thing will be done. The English will be installed, the Russian language will be installed, and the background will be displayed for the Russian army, for the workstations of the Russian army, and the background for the Japanese army will be displayed for the Japanese workstations. So let's wait for a moment, guys. So let's continue, guys. Here you can see that, just wait for a moment. Here we can see that this Japanese workstation, it is already tailored and customized to Japanese user. So he has his language installed, he has everything displayed in Japanese language. He will see his background for his army, will see that, but this is for the local admin, so we'll have a different background. Let's see when we log in with a standard user, Japanese, or a standard Japanese user, what will be the situation. So here we can see that everything is customized to the user culture or the user language. Okay, we will see different thing for the Russian user. He will see his Russian language installed. He will see his flag, okay, installed, okay, or his flag displayed as a background. So let's log out from this user and log in. So we will log out, okay, and then we will log in with a standard Japanese user. So let's see what will be the situation. Everything displays in Japanese language. So this is a very good example how we can control the display language and control the different setting for different branches, especially if these branches are in different countries. Okay, so this is Japanese or a normal Japanese user. So when we log in with it, we will see we need to change this language from English to Japanese. This is a normal user, or this is a standard user, a Japanese user. When we tell him edit and paste, okay, we cannot paste, right click and paste here. We should do it from the edit menu, and then we will type the password, and let's see what will be the difference. So you press OK. Now this user is called Goro Pipo. This user, I think he is in the Air Force or Japanese Air Force. So let's see what will be the situation. Okay, this is an error for the idle log of program. It is not currently on the C partition, but we will ignore this error. We have only this program installed on the servers. First of all, we need to have a good look on the background. You need to have a good look on the background. This is a Japanese soldier or Japanese personnel in the Japanese army. So he need to see his Japanese flag as a background. Here he will see his Japanese flag as a background. The desktop will be prepared for him. This is Goro Pepo, okay, and we will see the Japanese language installed. So this is a good example on how our GPO works. So this GPO will only work on the workstations of the Japanese army. It will not work, for example, for the Russian workstations. The Russian workstations, we have a different situation. So here we can see that our group policy is applied perfectly. everything is correct and everything is in order. The name of the machine is displayed, the user have everything. If we open this computer or this PC, we will see the user shared folders. Okay, we will see it. Okay, so this is a very good example on how our group policies will work. So if you wait for a moment, maybe we'll wait for a couple of seconds. So if you open, I think the this PC or the computer or this computer, just wait for a moment, guys, just wait for a moment. So let's continue, guys. Here we can see that every user will have his own Windows setting. Okay, the local admin will have different Windows setting, the Japanese user will have different Windows setting, and all of this is controlled using group policies and file share setting. Here we can see that the user will see his own home folder or Active Directory home folder named by his name or his username, and he's in the Air Force, so he will see the share folder of the Air Force. And so this user, from his share folder we can see that he is a member of the Japanese Air Force. If he's in a different or a different branch, for example, if he is in the infantry or he is in the for example tanks force, this will be displayed here. Okay, every user will see his own department folders. So here we can see the Air Force folders. Okay, so now this means that our shares are completely working perfectly, the Windows settings are working perfectly, our group policies that control the background and the screensavers and our Active Directory login script is working perfectly. The share the search icon disappeared, the Japanese language is installed, so everything works perfectly. So we will shut down the machine, and then we need to create a workstation in the Russian OUs, okay, and join it to the domain and see if the Russian army or the Russian language will be displayed. Okay, here we will restart the machine and the Russian background will be displayed. Okay, so this we have done earlier in the previous videos. Okay, how we can, or we have the configured group policies for every army. So now we have restarted the machine. I think after that maybe I will use a different user. Okay, I will use a third user. Maybe this user, I don't know, maybe there is different thing to do. Okay, I am logging with the same user again, but I don't know why I am doing this, but let's wait and see. Maybe the Active Directory login script was not applied completely, so I have restarted the machine to reapply the Active Directory login script. So okay, let's wait and see. So if we can go further, maybe we can go a little bit further here. Okay, here you can see that there is a difference in the time, because the time before restarting the machine was for Canada. Okay, the Active Directory login script changed the time from Canada time to Cairo time, because all of these machines are in Cairo office. Okay, or it is in a branch Cairo. Okay, you can make it with different setting, but actually here I am in Cairo, so I am just putting the time to be reflecting Cairo time zone. Okay, so I think maybe in different branches, if you're having branches, every branch should work with his own time, I think, because this is different. Okay, I think every time should, or every branch should reflect his own time. Okay, anyway, so this is thing we need to take into consideration. We should change the time zone for this machine to reflect Japan time zone. So this is thing we need to have into consideration. This is not correct thing, because it reflects Cairo time. We need it to reflect Japan time. Okay, we need to reflect Japan time zone. Okay, so this is other thing we need to modify the Active Directory login script to change the time zone from Cairo to Japan time zone. Okay, so now we'll shut down the machine, and then we will create a new virtual machine that will be in the Russian OU, or will be a Russian workstation. So just power off, and then we will close this machine and create a complete workstation. First we will shut down the file server. I'm doing this just to release some RAMs and processors to be used for the new workstation, okay, or the new Russian workstation. Actually I will close all of them and then create a workstation and install Windows 10 on it, and then open the servers again and join this workstation to the domain. So let's wait and see. We'll just power off, and then I need to also close I think I will leave the domain controller and open my POW workstation, and then okay, for a Russian workstation in the Active Directory, and join this workstation to the domain. So let's wait and see how we'll do this. We need to increase the RAM for my POW workstation. Just wait for a moment, guys, please. Let's continue. I think here I need to have a little bit of a note. We can not reflecting the time, we can add another clock. So I think here we will not let the Japanese workstation to reflect the Japanese time zone, but what we will do, it will reflect the time zone of, I think, the machine in Cairo, or the machine where the domain resides in. But I think we can add two clocks, one to reflect the time of the domain controller and the other to reflect the time of the machine. I think we have two clocks, one for Japan and the other, for example, for Cairo. So we have the two, I think, to be reflecting the two zones. Okay, anyway, we need to discuss this further. Anyway, so we now create, or we open the POW workstation, and then go to the Active Directory console, okay, and then get a name of a workstation, a Russian workstation, and join it to the domain. So we'll go with my domain admin account with the password, and then press OK. Okay, so now open the POW. What I'm doing here, I don't know what I'm doing here. I am just copying, or what I have done here, I have taken the Windows 11 group policy templates and copy them from my virtual machine to my laptop, because the Windows 11 group policy templates are different than the Windows 10 group policy templates, and the Windows 11 group policy templates are not in the domain controller. Okay, so we need to copy them and add them to the domain controller so we can control the Windows 11. Okay, anyway, so we'll tell him run. Then I'm taking a copy of this Windows 11 group policy templates and add them to the Active Directory group policy central store, or group policy or Active Directory central group policy store. So I am adding the Windows 11 group policy templates to my domain controller group policy templates. Okay, so I can, from the group policy management console, I can control Windows 11. So here I will go and paste the group policy templates for Windows 11 to be added to the Windows 10 group policy templates, so I can have both group policy templates and I can access them from my group policy management console. So now I am copying them, okay, the .adml files, and then I will add also the ADMX files. So here what I'm doing here, I am adding the group policy templates of Windows 11 to my Active Directory group policy store location, so I can control the Windows 11. Okay, so now I am adding the files. Okay, so this is the thing. Okay, so here we are. What I'm doing here, I am adding the group policy templates for Windows 11, adding them to my Active Directory group policy central store location. Okay, so now we are adding these group policy templates so I can control the Windows 11. Okay, because Windows 11 has new group policy templates that are not recognized by my Active Directory or with my group policy management console. Anyway, so here we are adding the group policy templates, and then I need to go to my Active Directory console and choose one of the Russian workstations name and join it to the domain, and we need 3 Russian users to log in with them on this Russian workstation, which will join the domain. Okay, so now I'm going to my console and then choose a workstation to join it to the domain, and it will be in the Russian OU, and choose 3 different users in the Russian OU to log in with them on this Russian workstation. So here is the command center. We'll go to the IT group. I will choose 3 different users to log in with them on the Russian workstation. This is IT workstation. This is the local admin of a workstation, or local admin on the Russian workstations. We will give it a password. Okay, and we will choose a standard user or a Russian standard user and an Active Directory IT user. Okay, so this is local admin on the local or on the Russian workstation. So we'll copy the user and put it in our text file. Okay, and then we will take 2 users. One will be a standard user and the other will be an Active Directory user or IT Active Directory user that have the authority to join workstations to the domain. So this is a normal Russian user, so we'll take this password and use it to log in on the workstation or the Russian workstation. So I'll tell him, okay, this is one, and this is a normal user. We need to take or to have an account or an account that have the authority in the Active Directory to join or to have authority in the domain to join workstations to the domain, especially in the OU of the Russian army or workstations in the OU of the Russian army. Okay, so now this is a standard user. We need to go and choose another user. Anyway, here I am just preparing a Windows 10 DVD that contains the Russian language. Okay, so I can install it on the virtual machine. Anyway, this DVD doesn't contain the Russian language. It only contains the English language. So we will see how we can transform it to Russian language and force the user to use the Russian language as the default display language or the default Windows display language. Here I think we can pass it this real quickly. So if you can go further, here is this is the one, or this is the Windows 10 DVD that we'll use, Windows 10 LTSC. Okay, so here what we'll do, we need another user in the IT group, but this user have access or have privileges on the Active Directory or in the domain to join workstations in the Russian OU. Okay, so this is a user that have privileges to join workstations in the Russian OU. Okay, so this is another user, and then we will create a virtual machine and prepare it to join the domain, okay, under the Russian OU. So this is another user also. these are two users, I think, that have Active Directory rights to join workstations to the domain. Anyway, so I think this is a user that have Active Directory rights to join workstations to the domain. Anyway, so we'll copy it, and then let's see. So these users are there. Then we need to create a virtual machine and join it to the domain. Here these users are member in the Russian IT group, and this group has privileges in the Active Directory, okay, on their OU. Okay, so now we have everything prepared. Now we need to create a virtual machine and install Windows 10 on it, and then join it to the domain. So we'll give this user password. Okay, and then we need to have the name of, in this one of these OUs there is a workstation. We need to take the name and join it or create our virtual machine under this name. So we'll go to the airbase. This is workstations in the Russian army, so we'll choose one of them, airplane 54. This will be the workstation that we will name and join it to the domain. This is pre-staging the workstation. This workstation is not now joining the domain, it is pre-staged or pre-created. So we will create our virtual machine under this name and name our machine under this name, and then join it to the domain. Okay, this is called pre-staging workstation. So now we will save it and then create a virtual machine. First we will close this virtual machine, and then we will create a new virtual machine and install Windows 10 on it, and it will be in the Russian OU. Let's see first how much time we have. Okay, we have 51 minutes. So here I will just power off the machine. Okay, and then we will stop at this moment. Here we will create, or we will stop at this step on creating a new virtual machine that will be in the Russian OU. Hope this video informative to you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much. We are in minute 32. Okay.